Okay, you guys. The heart is an arrow. Episode 6. Welcome to this episode of Pages and Popcorn Podcast, the podcast where normally we talk about books and movies and the movies based on books and the books that inspired the movies. But instead today we will be talking about episode 6 of Shadow and Bone, produced by Netflix, loosely based on a book and then stealing characters from another book. Both books are part of longer series. We're not talking about most of those series or most of those books. We're talking about just the one episode of television. It is called The Heart is an Arrow. And I'm joined again, as has become the habit now, which is awesome, Jennifer and Heather and Kat and me. And the cat is here somewhere too. And Matthew's out of town, so I'm real trippy because I keep thinking I'm hearing noises and it's not noises. Okay, I'm fine. I'm going to do my recap and then we're going to talk because I know we have stuff to talk about. Real fast here. The conductor blames the murder of the stand-in. You guys remember the girl who died last episode? Yeah, he blames the murder on the crows, but the general's pet heartrender knows that he's lying and they call him on it. And then he admits that, yes, he was in fact just a paid hired assassin. So the general kills him with darkness. We also learn that Nina is the general's spy. He finds out that she was captured and taken on a slaver ship to Friuda, and he sends a few of his guard out to find her. Let's just do the Nina storyline now because why not? Nina's ship has gone down and she survives by clinging to a bit of wreckage. She uses her heartrender powers to warm up and thus wake up Matthias. Matthias? Is it Matthias? I think it's Matthias. Sorry, Matthias, who is the witch hunter who was talking to her before, and they form an uneasy alliance for survival. They make it out of the ocean and onto land, but are unsure what side of the border they are on. They shelter in a place, and there is a lot of naked flirting going on, and Nina can keep him alive and warm, but first he has to get all naked and up close and personal. There is some smoldering, and he obviously doesn't like the way she talks, but he does like the way she cuddles. And he's all misogynistic and Freudian women, blah, 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 blah. And Nina isn't really having any of it. And the next day they trek off into the snow. And then there's some more flight flirting. And then he admits that he likes her, but he doesn't know if she's manipulating him to like her, etc. And she's all flirty and teasing. And I think she's tickling him. And then she falls through some ice and he rescues her. Now they've bonded. They share their names. He shares his cloak. I have mixed feelings. We'll talk about it. Moving on, Alina gets out of the coach. Remember, she stowed away in the crow's coach? Yeah, well, she is busted out of that coach. She busts out and they're all just standing there. She's like, hi, and they're like, hey, and she just fucks right off with her magic. Inej could probably have stopped her, but Inej doesn't really try. This pisses Kaz off. They search the village or whatever they're in, but no luck. Kaz calls Inej on her letting Alina go because, see, Inej believes that Alina is a miracle. Kaz still thinks that it's a trick. Whatever, they don't have her and they need to go before the general and the Grisha show up. Speaking of the general and the Grisha, Zoya, that wind mage who has a temper, tries to rekindle something with the general, but, in order to take his mind off of Alina, but no dice because, she's not Alina. She also points out that Alina might have just run away instead of being kidnapped. And he's like, no way, who would run away from me? That's crazy pants. So now the general and his posse, including Zoya and David, Jenna as David, are in the town or village or whatever, and then they get split up and they're going to fight the crows. Jasper fights a bulletproof heartrender, but he uses his marksmanship and his brains to get the upper hand, but he won't kill the dude in cold blood because there's a kid there. Inej fights the sister of the Inferni that she killed in the palace and gets wounded, but eventually gets the upper hand. She stabs the gal, but it's not a killing blow, but then the girl is like, I'm a racist troll, and I swear I will hunt you down and kill you. So Inej makes it a killing blow and leaves her to die. Kaz squares off with the general who's like, you kidnapped Alina. And Kaz is like, no, dude, she ran away. She doesn't want to be a captive. And the general's like, oh, fuck. And then tries to kill him with darkness. But Kaz has a light bomb and he escapes. The crows meet up, but Inej is injured, so they need a coach. So they steal the general's coach. They leave him and his posse. They're down in Inferni to look for Alina on foot. And they get told by someone in the town that she's in the woods. David has equipped her with some kind of locator ring, basically. So that's cool. I'm sure it'll come up later. And the general has now figured out that since she's in the woods, she's going after the stag. Alina is going after the stag, but that's actually not why she's in the woods. See, she ran off into the woods because after she ditched the crows and she was wandering through the village, someone harassed her and she burnt his motherfucking face and then was being chased and ended up in the woods. And then Magic Terminator Mal was there, so they reconnected and then they went camping. And after quarreling and making up and having bonding moments and rekindling their whatever and dressing Mal's wounds, Alina decided that yes, they should go after the stag. The end. Okay. So,
yet again,
who wants to start?
Yet again with the title, what does it have to do with the episode?
This makes perfect sense, though.
What?
The heart is an arrow. An arrow is the needle. The needle on a compass points to what? True north.
True north. Oh, see, okay. I figured I just missed it, but that doesn't.
That's a hell of a stretch.
I was thinking arrow, like bow and arrow, but I think arrow on a needle of a compass.
Bow and arrow is too on the nose. The heart is a needle. It sounded way too phallic, so they had to change it to heart is an arrow. And then at first I was like, I know where Matthias's arrow is pointing, but that's probably not what they meant. But yeah, no, I think that's what they're alluding to is the whole true north thing.
Usually I hear that name pronounced Matthias.
Matthias. Okay. When they say it on the show, they have an accent and it goes really fast. So then I'm like reading it.
And
yeah.
It's so quick.
So Matthias. Okay.
So Nina is distractingly attractive in this episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the cleavage that they very well put in there.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Matthias. Is that what we just did?
I do love the line where she says to him, "You're just a man like all the others." And then you want to reach in and like mop up the drool off her chin because she's like, just like all the others, except not because you are hunky.
He is very hunky.
So,
okay. So flashback a couple weeks when they were on the ship and they were like talking their little repartee. And I was like, I am uncomfortable because this is a power dynamic. And it seems like they're setting them up to be like romantic foils.
And you're like, I hope they don't.
And now here we are. And okay, if you just take just this episode, their little fighty, flirty thing is kind of cute. Oh my God, there's some smoldering looks near that fire in the furs and stuff. But at the same time, he's literally hunting down her people
captor.
And killing them. And he was her captor. I mean, now they're kind of a little bit more even footing, but there is a fucked up power dynamic, right? So I feel complicated.
Yeah, no.
She's a spy.
She did say it depends on what side of the line they're on, what side of the border, and they're still lost. So if they're on her side of the border, she's got all the power.
Right. Now.
But she's also a spy. It's really heavily implied in this episode when she's like, I have all these languages because I have to. It's my job. And in that sense, how much of the situation is she volunteering for and control of?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Like there's a fair amount she could just be manipulating him and making him like her. And I kind of hope that's what we're getting, but I don't know. I have this
well,
again.
but also because Kerrigan in the beginning explains that she was on a mission, right? That she was supposed to come across the fold with these three others, right? Like he admits that she's a spy for that. However, he did not know she was captured. So I don't think that wasn't part of the plan.
Right. I agree. Because I know, Kat, you said last week you think she's on the ship on purpose. And we were like, that's interesting. But I think now we pretty much know that she wasn't on the ship on purpose.
Which would have been a way
because they said they followed it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I said it would have been a way better plot line.
Yeah, potentially.
Heather?
I mean, also, yeah. There's a few things that we could have written differently, but yeah. So she wasn't supposed to be on that boat because the boat, was not part of the plan.
She was supposed to come through the fold with the crows.
Right. And we know that she's got ties to the palace, and because the one in Heartrender guard was like, we have to go after her. It's Nina, and you're like, okay, so there's something between them. I haven't bothered to learn his name yet, but I'm sure I'll have to.
He's like the lead instructor guy. That's what I call him. Because he's the one who, like, at the the dinner was giving her a hard time and stuff. He's like,
oh, I thought that was the other one, the Ivan. I don't know. Whatever. They
Yeah.
all kind of vaguely look
Well,
alike.
He's one of the two that also sat in the coach with her all the way
Right.
over
Yeah.
from
No,
the
I
camp.
just
Ivan's the
can't tell
taller of the
those two
two.
apart.
That's how I can tell them apart. Ivan's the taller.
It doesn't help when they're not standing next to one another.
Ivan is significantly taller. So even when they're not standing next
Oh.
to each other, Ivan is almost equal to Call Me Alexander. Whereas the other guy, and I should know
is
his
shorter.
name,
The not Ivan.
not
Okay, so we have Ivan,
is considerably
tall
shorter.
Ivan. We have tall Ivan and not Ivan. Got it. So yeah, not Ivan was like, but it's Nina. We have to go after Nina. You know, and you know the general.
Kerrigan's like, I don't care what you think.
Yeah, exactly. Like yeah,
Your opinion doesn't matter.
You're gonna go get her, but I'm also gonna go over here and get Alina because it's all about Alina. So okay. Yeah.
So with the conductor, like that whole interrogation scene in the beginning.
That was tall Ivan, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. So yeah, it just made me really sad because I really wanted to like the conductor and I wanted to like feel that he was a good guy. And then in this scene, it's just like, no, he's a jerk. He'll go wherever the money is. And when he told Kerrigan, you know, well, if you pay me even half that, I'll do your dirty work for you. And I was like, darn it, you're like 100% a bad guy.
Yeah, it's interesting because he's I mean, we knew he was like kind of like a war profiteer person, but he seemed like he was presenting himself as kind of like this bumbling guy at the beginning when they first met him, and you're like, oh, he's quirky and weird. He might be part of the gang someday, but like, no, apparently not. So this feels like a heel turn. I mean, not extreme because like we have no reason to not believe any of this, but it does feel like a character shift that he was putting us on. He was lying. He was manipulating, which is interesting because I don't feel like we've seen that from the general. The general has been pretty much the same, always that level of threat and danger and, you know, bad. And so he's not like really getting worse or better, or it's not surprising that he's doing whatever it is that he's doing.
He's a predictable trope.
but I'm comparing to the book because in the book the general had a big heel turn. Like we weren't 100% sure he was the bad guy until he became really fucking obviously the bad guy with genocide, right? So like there up until that moment you could almost interpret his actions either way, but in here he doesn't have that ambiguity. We've always known that he's the bad guy, but what we do have is the ambiguity of Arkin, the conductor, where we're like, oh, but maybe he's nice, oh, he helped them, blah blah blah, and now we're like, no, just bad. And now apparently strangled by darkness.
I think he was suffocated.
Yeah, it sounded like he was choking to me.
Yeah, it sounded like at the end he like choked for his last breath. Which
with darkness.
Well, more like a thick clouding smoke. So if you were inhaling a vapor that was not allowing you to breathe or clogging up your airways.
I'm just saying, we know the general can cut people in half.
Yeah.
But that's less dramatic than making him suffocate on darkness.
Or less effort.
I mean, yeah, that too. He was just like, ugh, whatever, and like waved his hand behind him, and you know.
I don't know. Okay.
But also,
like, I think it's silly. Like... I'm just gonna say suffocating on darkness sounds
gross,
silly to me. And
but also painful.
I mean, suffocating on anything, I suppose, would be painful, obviously.
I mean, I feel like it would be like drowning, right? Like you're drowning in darkness. Does that make it more acceptable?
It makes it more poetic.
I mean, but we've seen the dark come like as part of a light show, as part of this, as part like, so he has a dark that's just dark, and then he has a dark that can like go into your body. I don't know.
Kaylee,
like,
is this part of your where you tell me to not with the hand wavy and to just go with it?
I guess we just have to go with it. Yes, let's just go with it. It's supposed to be.
Okay, you just said the dark come, and my dirty ass mom.
You're just now like every time she said choking on the darkness, I'm like, come on, somebody else get the joke.
See there. Okay, I'm not going to say the thing. And then you said dark. Okay.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Anyway.
It's just
he also
It's just it's silly, I guess, is the thing. Like it's supposed to be scary, and we say all the time to Ella when like a bad guy does something, we're like, well, bad guys are gonna bad guy. Like they have to show you that they're the bad guy so that you know that they're the bad guy. So this is what this is for. He kills without a thought. He kills without remorse. He doesn't even have to really think about it. He doesn't get his hands dirty. He uses his power for bad. I get that that's why it's all here. It's just the visual of like, oh no, the dark. Like it
was a little anticlimactic.
Yeah. I preferred watching the guy get like sliced in half. That was much more of a good death in my book.
Yes, but also last week you wanted to cut off people's hands.
Yeah, maybe
So,
I need therapy.
Okay, so she wasn't alone in that. There is a practicality to that. And there's also a practicality to the way that he handled the conductor. I mean, it was quick, it was clean, he didn't have to think about him, it was over and done, and somebody else can just not even have to mop up the mess, just wheel away the effing chair.
I mean, and that is definitely something to take in consideration when you're going to kill somebody. You have to think about the mess, and you have to think about who's going to clean it up. I just don't see that the general as someone who's overly concerned.
No, and that's what I mean.
That
it was just, he doesn't even have to think about it. He knows the death is handled. It's done. He doesn't even have to tell somebody to go do it. There was a practicality and the nonchalantness, efficiency.
It is efficient. And I suppose if you were a servant, you'd probably appreciate the dead bodies just being dead and not being in pieces. So
the way the rest of them probably are.
Yeah, hooray for that. Anyways, so we've now spent
efficient deaths.
Oh yes, okay.
How about Inej?
Oh yeah, okay. So that was really interesting. I liked that she, you could tell that it was still bothering her that she'd killed this Inferni's brother, right? She'd killed but then when it was basically like me versus you, she wasn't going to hold back, and she let the woman die.
Well, she was going to let her live.
She was,
yeah,
until the woman was all racist and threatening.
What kind of stupid thing would you? Why would you say that? Here's the reason for you to kill me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're letting me live?
Okay.
Well, you're a stupid cunt. Okay, never mind.
I'll take my knife back. Let me have my knife then.
Seriously.
Since your brother has my other one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, like we said, it was foreshadowed that, because she left the knife, the gal, the Inferno, she recognized her right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she obviously was letting her emotion control her actions.
Yeah.
And so the other guy was like, hey, like, what are you doing? Like,
so we've seen that now a few times where when they can't control their emotions, it affects their powers, right? We saw that with Zoya now a couple times, and we saw it with this gal too. And so I'm sure we're going to see it with Alina, where, you have to control your emotions so you control your power, and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, so. Zoya, she threw like a little hissy fit when Kerrigan left the room and wouldn't do her.
Wouldn't help her mess up the bed. Although that is a good line. Your desk was messy and your bed was neat, and I offered to, switch them around or reverse them or whatever, make them the other way around. I was like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, she was trying. She's like, I think you just need to relax, and he's like, I think you need to stop touching me.
My arrow doesn't point to you, Zoya.
Well, and if you remember, she's the one who tried to tempt Mal in the tent in the camp in the first place. So she's apparently just thirsty, and nobody wants to take a drink. Like,
I think she's just thirsty for Alina's leftovers, though. That's like
it starts to feel that way, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's going to have to be some kind of showdown between them,
It's just building to that. Yeah.
Would be a great line if it wasn't for the fact that she had no idea Mal had anything to do with Alina, or that Alina even existed at the time that she propositioned him. And I think
she knows just eventually.
Yeah, I mean, she went for him because she flat out said, I like to go for a piece of strange before battle. Makes sense.
Right, but I mean, eventually she learned that Mal was important to Alina because she used it to taunt Alina later. So now she knows that she was rejected by a guy who loves Alina, and now she's been rejected by another guy who's
a second time.
Alina. Yeah. So yeah.
So now the culmination of it is Alina's got this super power that she doesn't have. She had two guys that she wanted and couldn't have, and they're all making a big fuss about it. that she's now missing. And so her saying, oh, well, maybe she just left.
Yeah, she
seemed
didn't
very
really fit in here.
she never fit in.
Her Kefka
So she
just
probably
didn't
just
fit
left.
somehow.
Yeah. So like it's very junior high-ish.
Yeah.
Her behavior. Like it just
But are you saying that this plot of this is a little YA? Because all my notes, once Alita and Terminator Mal end up in the forest together, right? I'm like, okay, now YA trope, now YA, now YA. Like they're everything they did. Oh, let's like talk. Oh, we're gonna fight, but we're not gonna fight. We're gonna have a misunderstanding. We're gonna clear it up.
Salve on your naked shoulder.
Oh, but I'm gonna put this much
Right?
of it. What the
And
hell?
I'm not going to use my special sun gift to like sear your wound that obviously needs to be closed while we're in the woods and we don't want it to get dirtier because it's already getting infected. No. I'm going to withhold that from you and give you a touch of hand warmth later. Not going to protect your life. Just, oh God, their lines. I gagged. Like Sarah heard me go, ugh, from across the apartment.
This is the weakest part of this whole thing, and it's their storyline is bad and their dialogue is just painful. It's just painful.
But she wants to tell him about what happened with Kerrigan, and he says it doesn't matter what happened. I don't care.
Yeah,
but he's accepting. Damn it.
I mean, yeah.
Why didn't you write to me?
Well, why didn't you write to me?
It's been months. Like a few months. So how was I supposed to cope and carry on with
Well, but wait. So what's funny is they make it out like it's been months, and we kind of feel it's been months because he like went off into the snowy mountains to hunt the stag, and then had to come all the way back. But at the same time, like they were planning this big party, and it seemed like that was only like 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's
so again with the timelines and just making it's not fluid.
And okay, so we talked about the drawings of the stag before, and we're like, where the hell did this drawing come from? Was that her drawing? Because Mal was like, it's her drawing, I can tell. And then as he's saying, I knew it was your drawings, I thought you were reaching out to me, like you won't write to me, but somehow you'd send a message 7 steps of separation about a drawing that I would whatever, that's dumb, Mal. And then she's like, oh, he must have stolen it from my journal. And she's all like just nonchalant about it. And I was like, wait, okay, can you back up? Because either you knew that somebody was reading your journal and stealing your stuff, and it's now clicked in who that was, but that should have been like talked about, or you had no idea that somebody was looking through your journal and stealing it, and then like maybe that deserves a tiny bit more of attention or verbalization or something. I don't know. It was a weird. Oh,
it just felt like they were trying to. Yeah, they were. They covering themselves in the script.
They heard us complain last week, and they're like, "Oh, we better give a line to explain that." Yeah, no, I was like, yes, and her sunlight that creates heat and brightness, but no smoke, so it's not a fire. And I kept thinking like, okay, first of all,
for those listening, her face looks amazing right now.
Okay, it probably wouldn't have looked so silly if in the exact same episode we didn't have freaking Nina and Matthias being like, let's cuddle up under the furs. Like these people are like, we're so cold. Here's a hand warmer. Like, I don't know. You can make everything glow.
And also, it's never discussed whether or not her light has warmth.
Yeah.
Well, she says it does.
No, that's the first time.
It did now, but that's the first time it's been brought up that it had anything. Like you would think earlier on, like when she called it, she would be like,
yeah. In this episode, because she burns that guy's face. Like that is a thing that happens.
Well, but she like blinds him with it.
We don't know. She burned him. Like, we don't get to see it.
Did she burn him?
She burnt because he says later he was like, she burnt my friend's face.
Yeah,
like,
but we don't see the burning. This is the first episode where they've mentioned anything with her,
any kind of heat.
Yeah,
right. Yes,
because you would think that like they could have, when she was down in the ground with
Bagra,
his mom, Kerrigan's mom, Bagheera, yes. That like one of the first times she conjured it, she could have been like, oh, it's warm. Or, you know, like somehow like told us that it created a warmth.
Or while you're
Right.
You know, the
practicing,
first-
don't be so dumb to burn yourself.
The first
Anyway.
couple
Right.
times,
Somehow they could have.
you guys,
yeah.
the first couple times she glowed, it was because the general was touching
Oh
her.
God.
Right.
So
That's
it's
different. And that
sexual
warmth,
heat.
right.
Yeah.
The
It
warm
gives me heart
tinglies.
palpitations. I start to sweat because he's hot. No, I'm hot because he's bringing it out of. Yeah, I mean, there's okay. I'm done now.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
you're done now. Yeah. Bye. But yeah, I just feel like it would have been better if we had known that she could create warmth.
Well, and then
But then it's like you said, because it's different than Nina's warmth, because hers is like controlling your heart rate to warm you.
Right. Which
So it's
okay. Also, yes, it is true that speeding up your heart will make your blood pump faster, which will warm you up. But it's not like atmospheric warmth. It's not environmental warmth. It's just not dying warmth, right? Like, and then when they're in the furs and she's like reaches across and like it felt like
Mhm.
yeah, it felt like there was something more than just heartbeat that
He
was
did look very satisfied.
some
pounding.
release, some dark cloud release here.
Yeah, there was some other arrows involved.
Yes. Okay.
So, as back to the two versions in the cave, they're being pursued still, in theory, kind of, sort of. It's dusk. It's cold as hell. So their solution is to have a light glow out of a cave so that nobody will see them. Like the minute she did that and it lit everything up, I'm like, what are you doing?
Are you talking about Alina and Mal, or are you talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, because
Yeah.
you were still on it, and I just wanted to.
Yeah.
Got further
No,
away.
for sure. Like.
And then she
I get
immediately
that
lights a
there's no-
fire.
Well, there's no smoke, so
The
like
next
that's
morning,
safe.
she lit
But then
that
there's a
means she lights
fire.
But if they're still out and you're not sure, like if they're still close enough.
Yeah.
Because I used to hunt, so yeah, no, like her little glow orb thing, he should have been immediately like, that's super cool, and I'm not afraid of you anymore. Horrible light, but we need to put this out.
Put out the light.
Yeah.
Hide your light under a bushel, Alina,
God.
for safety.
Well, but remember, you guys, Mal is like the greatest tracker of all time, so he could probably sense if anybody's near.
That is true. He was
Like the
right
greatest.
there.
He's so good. He could track to where she was going to be.
When she ran into the
annoyed
bushes.
me
Like-
so much.
Oh, exactly.
Sorry, I had to segue into that because seriously, she's like running for her life, and then she stops in a tree, and then she looks over and like, oh hey, what you doing in the woods?
Dude, like
Fancy meeting you here.
she like
Well, he's the magical
No ordinary
Okay.
boy for no ordinary girl.
so he follows the stagecoach or the coach or whatever, right? Okay, that was easy enough to track. Fine. The coach or whatever gets to the village. Mal might be a little ways behind them. And then maybe he came upon the coach. The coach is now empty. The crows are, off doing their crow business. And he's like, she won't stay in this village for long. I bet she's going to cause some strife and then take off for the woods. And then she'll probably fall down a hill. And then she'll probably roll in the mud. And then she'll probably need me to rescue her. I'll go stand there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Terminator magic, Mal.
I mean, the only way that works is if he saw the general's coach coming before it reached the town. He was like, fuck, he might be after me too. I need to avoid everybody and hide in the woods for a minute. That is the only way that closely works.
Even like she's just running chaotically. She could
Right.
be
No, I'm saying
any.
if the two weren't connected, if he was hiding from the general, I see you, Katie.
I know, because the general wasn't there yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if he
Yeah.
was somewhere where he saw like, oh, down the road ahead, he's coming. It could
No,
be a
the
bad
general
situation.
would have been behind
I
him.
say, but those timelines
Oh,
don't
if
even work either. Like
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a way where it
And
could have been an
because-
accidental meeting, but none of the timelines work.
But
The general
also,
took his time leaving to go find her too.
Yeah.
right?
He did.
No,
Like, he's
It was like the next day.
I'm gonna like fart
Well, and
around
the
in my
thing-
rooms. I'm gonna like send off these missives. I'm gonna have a conversation with Zoya. I'm gonna go over here and eat breakfast. Maybe I'll go pick a flower. Like, the man was not in a hurry.
well, he already had
to get-
flowers. The magical
and
blue
then the thing
irises.
too,
Oh, yeah, the blue irises. That's right. Go ahead, Heather.
I would say, but also I don't know that Mal ever knew that Kerrigan had bad intentions towards him. Because remember, it was Bagra who had her
No,
little.
he did because he was
Mal
standing
overheard
outside.
that. Yeah, Mal overheard the Bagra Kerrigan little fight in the courtyard.
Oh, right.
And Bagra
And,
made
then
it a
and when
point of
she was
stating,
like, only a really good tracker will be able to find her now.
That's right. But yeah, I don't know that he. Yeah, I doubt he thought Kerrigan was after him. He probably knew she was.
He was after
was
her.
after
Yeah,
her.
I mean, it was just, and then again, you have the thing. Okay, so here's a question. So Alina and Mal chatting away with their horrible dialogue, and part of their horrible dialogue is, "Oh, you're eating more than you used to eat."
oh God, that was
I'm so glad that you're eating. It looks good on you that
You
you're
look
eating.
healthy.
Oh, okay. Which okay, but she doesn't look all that different, at least to me. And then she's like, "Yeah, using my powers, makes me hungry." Which cool, fine. And then she goes, "That's how he stays so young." I'm so confused, you guys. How did she go from she needs to eat more to keep her power going to suddenly like getting some kind of epiphany about the general?
I thought you'd have some magical insight. No, I was totally
No,
confused.
it was very confusing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
No, I watched
I was like,
Now and Then last night, and I'm like, okay, fat shaming. Oh, look, we're fat shaming again. Awesome. Yay.
Yeah, it was a weird line, and it was a weird transition into that's why he, and then she starts thinking about the stag, and then she's like, we have to go after the stag, and like whatever. But like before they were going to go after, okay, first of all, where was she going? She gets out of the coach and she's just wandering through the village. I don't know where she's going. Then she hooks up with Mal, and he's going to take her back to the fold. Like they're going to go back across for some reason. I don't know exactly. And now they're going to go find the stag. But now they've decided to find the stag, and the general's over there like, oh, she's in the forest. She's obviously going to find the stag. Like, what? No. Okay, I'm glad I wasn't the only one confused.
No.
Go ahead.
So
Kat.
what she was doing in the town was trying to find food she could steal. But as far as like where she's coming to it, so you know how you said before they heard us? They heard us on that too, and they're trying to make her seem insightful.
Yeah, she did have a couple of epiphanies. She's like, oh, I better go get the stag.
Epiphanies with no logic lines.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
But at
magical
least
thinking.
we know that now she's like asking some of the right questions to herself. Because,
Yeah.
she spent the first how many episodes not asking any questions?
I mean, who's willing to take the bet right now that there's no way she's going to actually kill this stag, right? She's going to have like a crisis of conscience, or just
He is.
not. Mal, yeah, magical Mal with the animals. You can't kill an animal, I'm sure.
Except
you
that
might
he killed
say.
rabbits
Unless it's a
for
rabbit.
stews.
I mean, obviously they're eating, but they're not going to eat the stag. So, yeah, we'll see.
Well, that would be one way to absorb its magic.
Pulling in stranger in a
Some
strange
venison
land over
stew.
here. Some
Out of all the episodes so far, this plot felt like the messiest, and they had no idea what they were doing.
Yeah, I mean, we had some very disjointed episodes early on. Last week's episode was freaking phenomenal, and it ended so well. And this week, as a follow-up, I was like, oh, okay, we're confused again. And again, I could split them up into all of their pieces
Yeah.
because they all split They all
Segued again.
split away again, which was
And
okay.
apparently it is super easy to take on the general and the Grecias.
I mean, well, they split up, which is nice. They just go a one-on-one combat, and like half of their posse just chills in the coach. So
But it's like,
cool.
no, but everything from the very beginning of this, like the last episode, she's hiding in the trunk of the carriage, and okay, we're going to have something, and oh, nothing happened with that. It's a plot that went nowhere, and then you have the crows running around, just kind of running around causing mayhem, and she does her. There's so many just like dropped threads, and well, we need to have this person over here, but we don't have any reason for them. And so we're just going to have him meander around. It was just from a plot point perspective, it was so messy, and like they have nowhere that they're going, and they're just like running around for nothing.
Yeah. And the crows are, they don't have her, so they have to kind of go home now empty-handed, and they're going to lose everything.
Why?
Which is really sucky.
Why did they have to go home though? I mean, if they go home, they've lost the club. Okay, so if you know you've lost the club, make a new home here where your life's not in danger. Why do you
Yeah, but this side of the
home?
fold, this side of the fold isn't very cool.
That's
Their
true.
side's a lot cooler.
Yeah,
it's full of YA tropes and terrible.
Yeah, the other side had gambling halls and booze.
So does this
booze
one,
and-
obviously.
Well, but
And that's
Just
what
not
I'm
nearly as-
they're like, we have to go home. Like, why do you have to go home? I mean, do you
Well, because they're
want to
being
go
hunted where they
home?
are.
yeah.
It's like, okay,
On
well, if
this
we
side
go
of the
there,
fold-
then if we don't go back, we forfeit it. But if we go back, we forfeit it.
I don't feel like I don't think they feel like they're very safe where they are, so they can't
Right, they're
stay
being
where they are. I mean, and even if you have to forfeit, like that's still there's still connections, and that's still like your place. Like you might be able to fight or figure
They're
something
not very
out or
safe where they
whatever.
are, but they're not going to be very safe when they go back either.
I don't know.
Well, but Kaz always has a plan. So,
yeah,
he's figuring it out as he goes. But I did think it was interesting, that he did admit to it, Inez, that like, hey, or Nej, that he had put up the Crow Club for
Yeah.
her
He didn't tell her for her.
ability to go. And she's like, oh, what has he done now?
Yeah, all he
Yeah.
told her was he put up the club. He didn't tell her it was for her.
No, but she knew that because she had said, what's going to happen when I go back? Are you just going to hand me back to the
Elena.
Yeah. And he's like, well, no, because, she has the deed to the club. So like,
No, he was saying that we have
Ew.
to recapture her
yes.
and take her captive. Even if you believe she's a saint, we have to take her back because without her, we forfeit the club.
right. And I still think it's interesting that Inej is like believing now, and she smiles at Alina when Alina runs away.
And she was the only one that like the others were expecting a physical attack and took it to the side, and she was like, nope, she's gonna throw up light because this is who she is. And so she was able to securely block. How did he know she securely blocked and let her walk away? I don't know.
Well, I feel like he thought, well, you didn't hit the deck, and then Alina was still there, and Alina walked away. You could have like thrown something or put something on her, or knocked her unconscious, or whatever. You
Throw a book at
throw
her.
a book. Hey, you know what? I know I've told at least one of you the story, but I fought off a mugger once with a very large library book. So books are good for all sorts of things. Way to go, David.
I have not
I
heard
haven't
that
heard this
story.
Oh. It was a John Irving book, so that's all you need to know.
Yeah, those are pretty hefty.
Speaking of David in the book, because he's the one who threw the book.
Yeah.
So it was funny because, when they got out of the carriage, Kerrigan told him, no, you just stay in the carriage. Like, you're not going to be any help out here because he's the other tailor, right?
No, he's a
or
fabricator.
Yes. And so, but then when he, after the carriage is stolen and he says, well, she's got a ring that the other gal gave her that's made of this special metal that I can detect if I'm within a mile. And I'm like, a mile is not a very large radius.
No, you got to find her trail first.
Yeah, I was going to say, if it was like a 25-mile radius.
I see on the opposite side of things. I was like, that's a mile. I mean, Heather, you're less than a mile away from me. Like ding, 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 ding. Heather's home.
But if we
Okay.
were in the woods, half a mile even, you're like, if you don't know which direction to go in.
Well,
Yeah.
we don't know how he would know either, right? He's like, I'll be able to track her or I'll know, but it's not like
He'll sense the metal.
He doesn't have the magical tracking ability.
well,
But
if he can
sense
sense the metal, then he could probably sense from what direction it's coming from. He was like a bloodhound,
But it
right?
has to be within a mile.
Well, like all dogs and other creatures that sniff things have a certain limited. I thought it was impressive. A mile impresses me. I am easily impressed by a mile, and I am not a size
I
queen.
have seen people get lost in the woods in 20 feet. A mile is nothing as far as like how fast you can get lost, and as far as the way their towns are kind of hinted at how they're displayed, it you could be off by 20 feet and completely lose that mile indicator. A mile is a lot.
I feel like it's like a bloodhound, like an animal sense tracking thing. And so like when you see animals track, even if it's far away, like they know where to go. They're not like, it's not a radius somewhere.
Yeah, but you have to be. Well, that's what he's saying. It is a radius. You know, it's a mile.
He said a mile radius.
He has to be within a mile. Yeah.
I didn't see. I don't remember him saying the word radius. I apologize.
He said,
I'm still impressed.
Within a mile. He said within a mile.
He said, get me within a mile, and I can tell you where she is.
Exactly.
And like, to me, well, but like if they've been running all night, they're probably 20 miles away.
Okay,
that's what I mean.
Dude. Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, they're not 20 miles away because remember, somebody's injured and they had to stop and gaze at each other meaningfully multiple times and they slept. But yes, I get it. It's not like a slam dunk. Plus, they don't have a carriage and they're behind somehow half a day because, you know, whatever. But I still found it vaguely impressive because there. So there. Fine. Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. I liked Jasper's alarm, which was an explosion. Mm-hmm. That was great. Okay. I liked that both Jasper and the Heartrender have soft spots for kids. That was cute. I liked that a lot. And I have some answers to some of our burning questions.
Like that the uniforms are bulletproof.
Yep, we know that for sure now. We were pretty sure, but now we know it's been confirmed.
They had already stated they were bulletproof.
We saw the bullet, but I don't
No. When they were putting her in the carriage, they told her when they were being attacked.
Oh.
See, episode 2?
1.
Yeah,
two?
They said at the very beginning that their Kefkas are bulletproof.
Okay.
Well, they repeated it. Then.
It's confirmed again. There we go. But we also are pretty sure now, disappointed, but pretty sure that Mal is not a Grisha. I'm still confused about how he can hear her. I don't know if we're ever going to revisit that or not. And either Alina didn't know that she was a Grisha, you know, or has some pretty big denial about it because he challenged her on it, you know, like you faked it, you cut your hand, blah blah blah, right? So still not 100% sure where that's going to fall.
Yeah, she still evaded it pretty good by going, no, I didn't know. And even if I maybe thought it was a possibility, I didn't want to be split up.
I did, yeah, for you. Yeah. Yep. That's yeah. My last note is the heart is an arrow. It points true north. You know what else is an arrow? A cold man looking for a woman to snuggle.
That banter between the two of them was really entertaining though.
I mean,
he's like basically like, you're a filthy wench, and she's like, and
yeah, and you like it.
Like your women obviously are no fun.
Have you asked them?
Bye.
Yeah. Have you asked them if they want to fight? Oh no, they wouldn't want to. They're happy.
No.
They're caretakers and then we're protectors and yada yada. So yeah, no. I mean, when he looked at her and he was like, I hate the way you talk. Like that was
no, you don't.
No, you really don't.
You really don't. Like, I mean, this actor is
those two need to teach the other two how to do chemistry and smoldering, because either they're full on getting it on the side or they are stunning actors who need to teach the other two how to act.
Yeah, it's really good. And again, I mean, I said it before, I'll say it again, it makes me feel vaguely queasy to think about the power dynamics, but it is more on an even footing now. And I know that it is tropey, like the enemies to lovers thing. You know, yeah, you're a raging homicidal maniac who's killed a bunch of people, Ketra, but now you love me, Catra. So now everybody's so happy that there's lesbians in She-Ra. So we're gonna just ignore all the bad shit that you did. I know I just alienated a whole bunch of people. I'm sorry, but I
I just realized what you were saying.
Yeah, that's how I thought of it.
I'm sorry.
I just think that it is an unfortunate trope in literature and movies and film and TV and all of that kind of stuff, because it isn't cool. And there has to be at some point, if we're going to do this, if we're going to have them like get together, which again, I'm not 100% convinced, because we know she's a spy and she could very easily just be playing him for this, right? Okay. So, but if we're going to root for them to be together, and if they're going to be together and all, or have like a good relationship or flirty or whatever it is, I hope at some point that he has to show character growth, that he is remorseful for the shit that he did in the past, and like has to be making restitutions. It can't be just like, oh yeah, that was those people. I see your hand. That was those people, but now I know that they're not all evil, blah blah blah. You've humanized and I've grown, not just you're the good one of them. So I'll make an exception of my bigotry for you. So probably expecting way too much of the 2 or 3 episodes left of this show, but go ahead.
Can't they still just be enemies who have really good hate sex? Hate sex can be really good.
I guess, but I don't feel like this is that kind of show.
No, probably not that kind of show, but I mean, if they're still they do end up just being continued enemies who have sex, it is then just equal footing sex.
Potentially. Yeah, we will have to wait and see, I suppose, this time.
I was going to say, when she fell into the ice cavern, there was like a moment where he almost didn't pull her out.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's why I was wondering if she was playing him, because that look when they sat down was, look here, effer, you were going to let me go. And then all of a sudden she smiled. I'm like, oh, she's setting something up.
Yeah, he hesitated for that moment. And I feel like it was to put her in her place, to be like, yeah, you're quirky and fun, manic pixie dream slave witch, but I'm the one with the muscles. I'm the one, who's going to keep you alive.
I didn't take it as putting her in her place. I took it as in he was seriously debating whether or not to let her die. And the look on his face to me wasn't, I like her. It was, she still needs to stand for her crimes. It did not look like I like her. It looked like, nope, that's not justice.
But it also, like, in that moment, like, your instinct kicks in, right? Like,
his instinct was let her die,
to let her go.
But his moral code was she needs to stand for trial.
Right.
I don't think it was that. I think it was he truly wanted to save her. Like, because it would have been so easy to let her go, but he chose not to. And then there was a physical effort, and I don't know, I felt like it was more for affection than to make her have to stand trial.
I don't know if I have an opinion on whether he pulled her out for trial or pulled her out for affection. That I don't know. I just think that he let her linger there for a beat longer than he necessarily needed to remind both of them that he's the physical, strong person in this relationship, and that she is in danger without his support. Jennifer, you had your hand up.
Okay, so this is YA romance tropey. The YA romance trope would say that this is his moment of character development of, well, I am supposed to let her die. That's what I've been taught. This is everything in my background. But my God, we have Smolder, and it was a really cute conversation. And maybe I don't want her to die because she's really cute with her loud mouth and cleavage. Her very loud cleavage.
Also,
yeah. The cleavage speaks tons.
Always,
well, hers
right?
certainly does. That was impressive cleavage. Sorry.
Why?
Sorry. There's many people I am jealous of their cleavage because I do not have any. And
same.
Yeah. Somebody currently on this
the YA
chat
wearing anything cleavagey today. Okay.
You leaned forward, it happens. Yeah, right there. For those of you who cannot see,
I need to buy a Wonder Bra to do what you just did.
In a sports bra? I'm wearing a sports bra.
It's not the same. Okay? It's not. I know how to use the pudding, like they were talking about now and then. So, no, No,
it just no.
not the same.
But I was gonna say, so you know how he had said that the women, you know, the Fjordian women are the caretakers. So it was one of those moments where, you know, after he pulled her out and then he gave her his fur and kind of like held her for a moment. It was kind of a
affection.
I thought a character development.
That part looked like affection.
Showing
the part on the cliff
concern.
though did not to me look like affection. It looked like afterwards that in the facial expressions
a
to me.
Struggle, I think, for him because he was fighting against everything he'd been taught.
I just like the fact that he called out, like, I do like you, but I don't know if you're making me like you. You know, like, I liked that he called that out. I like that we know that he's thinking that, because that gives him, he's not just muscles. Yeah, it gives him some depth. We also know that he was like concerned about the people on the ship before when they were like, oh, if the ship goes down, just let them all die. And he's like,
no,
you know,
his moral character code is all people must stand for their crime. They must stand trial.
But she questioned him about that when they were on the ship, right? Mm-hmm. And said, but has anyone ever been found innocent?
Doesn't matter. Like, no, they've all been said. To him, it's still justice.
But I think she's made him question it.
Maybe.
I really do.
But that, to me, that's part of where that look on his face was not, oh, but it's her. It was, no, she needs to live to stand trial. Well,
time will tell what happens with these two. I am intrigued by it. So for sure. Did anybody else, final note from me, anybody else have a whole, that door is not big enough for both people? Yes, it is. Let Jack up on the door, Rose. Kind of moment.
Our hearts will go on. If you freeze to death in the water.
I loved it.
And I love that they put him totally on it, and it's like, no, it's definitely big enough.
Yeah, but you have to.
But he's got to swim.
So I'll keep you alive so you can swim. Get back in that water. This door's only big enough for one of us. Okay, guys. Anybody else have any final thoughts or predictions? Because we're kind of hitting our time. So
anybody else roll their eyes when he was saying, I'm sorry it took me so long to see who you are, but I see you.
Yeah, all of their dialogue made me gag.
But now we're going to go in the woods and hunt a stag. So maybe some more action in the next episode.
Well, they're going to have to get cold because it was up in the snow. So we'll have to see how well. Maybe that fire magnifier thing could actually make them some fire, and they can stay warm with her powers, and her powers.
Or they could get some warm clothes.
Yeah, well, just the whole, I see you now. Man, you've been eating. That's such a
coolness.
And okay, you guys, I don't see particularly well. Does she look bigger than she did at the beginning?
No.
Okay.
Her hair looks healthier. That is the most I can see the difference is that it looks like regularly bathing. Extra like the extensions. It looks fuller. Like not like her hair looked stringy before. Yeah. That is it. Her face is the same shape. I still don't see what the shoe is in different.
Which they brought up again when she was at the market and she picked up the fruit, and he's like, "Oh, none for your kind."
And then
shoe money isn't accepted here.
Bar thing.
Yeah. So apparently they all can tell the difference, but not the rest of
us. Okay. Are you ready?
So what's next week's title?
Next week's episode is? Yes. Okay. Hold on. I had it. Oh. Well, okay. Here's the title. Are we ready?
No.
We wanted something on the nose or not on the nose, because this is the title, The Unsea. So I guess we're going on the nose and we're going to the fold.
The what?
The Unsea, UNSEA. That's what the other name for the fold is.
Oh, okay.
Unsea.
Which has not been brought up in the show yet. But
oh, really? Oh, okay.
That's why I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, you and Jennifer talked about it in the first episode as the Unsea, and I was like, what? The what? And I was like, oh, the fold. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess that's where we're going.
I really do like the way they did the fold.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Like, shouldn't we hit the stag first? I'm going to scroll back up. Nope. The heart is the arrow is number 6. The Unsea is number 7. And then we only have one after that, which I just now looked at the name of it and
Don't do it.
which I hadn't. Okay, so the Unsee. Maybe we're gonna get the stag and go to the fold all in one episode. It'll be a action-packed episode, and we know what two out of the four people are. Do you think Nina's gonna hook back up? They seem kind of like, are they gonna stumble upon the stag? Are they up there? I'm so confused. Like Heather, I want a map. Like where?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So like maybe Nina and
Yes, I want a map.
yeah. Okay.
It's nowhere near cold enough for them to be that close to the stag or the Fjorden. The place with the peoples.
The place with the peoples. So like if Nina and Matthias are up there and they stumble upon the stag, and then Alina and Terminator Mal end up near the stag, and then the general is chasing them to the stag, and then I guess at some point the crows will be like, I guess we can't go back until we get her. Let's also go chase and run around in the woods a little bit.
Don't forget,
I guess
Nina's also being pursued by the other Grisha trying to save
That's true.
her. And
Yeah,
they're
the not
going into
Ivan.
the same territory. So the not Ivan. They're all coalescing to the same area on different timelines again, which also the timelines aren't exactly the same again.
Well, we don't really know Nina's timeline, but the rest of them converged basically.
No,
and
I'm
we're
saying they're
almost
all going back towards the same area. They're all basically going after the stag, and the stag is in the area that they're in, and so everybody's going back towards the same area. They're all potentially heading to different timelines again to go into the same area and potentially to meet up to the same timeline again.
Right.
It
seems like they're going to converge. They're going to converge is what it feels like. So, okay. Well, this was awesome and fun. Thank you guys so much. This is it's like the highlight of my weeks, watching this and talking about it with you. And for our listeners, we hope you are enjoying it as well, of course. And feel free to drop us a line at pagesandpopcornpodcast@gmail.com or visit us on Facebook. Don't bother with Twitter. I'm kind of taking a Twitter hiatus because I just can't. So, but I am on Facebook. Pages and Popcorn Podcast is on Facebook. Kaylee Metcalf also on Facebook. And let us know your thoughts. Please don't spoil it for us, but we would be interested to hear your thoughts. And yes, okay. So thank you guys so much. This was fun.
Yes.
Bye.
Don't forget to not mute yourself unless something heinous happens. And knock knock.
Who's there?
Who's there?
Luke.
Luke.
Luke to the people. Duh.
That was a little bad.
You mean good.
Oh.
Okay. Are we ready?
Yes.
There we go. Okay.